All right, so I flipped over to the homework and practice because I really want to talk about this in a little more depth in terms of ratios and proportions and solving and setting these up. So I'm on page 21 if you're looking at the bottom. I'm going to look at number 1 here, and it says a building casts a shadow 48 feet long. At the same time, a 40-foot tall flagpole casts a shadow that is 9.6 feet long, or 9 and 6/10 feet long. What is the height of the building? And they've even given us a nice little handy little diagram over here to tell us what we're trying to figure out. Well, we've got a couple different ways. We got multiple ways we can do this. What I like to do is I like to keep things the same. I like to put, and when I'm doing these things, I'm going to put over here, I've got an equal sign and I've got 2 ratios set equal to one another. We call that's the proportion thing we've been talking about. So what I like to do is I'm going to put my objects across the top, and on the side, I'm going to turn this to the side, and I'm going to put my measurements on the side. Now, what does that mean? What am I even talking about here? Well, objects, my 2 objects in here, I've got a building and I've got a flagpole. So I'm going to put B for building and FP for flagpole. My 2 measurements, I have height and I've got shadow length. So I'm going to put height on top and shadow length on the side or on the bottom here. So if I'm constructing my proportion, I'm looking to put in this part right here the height of the building, because that's where these cross. The height of the building is the thing that we don't know. Now we look down here. Where does this cross, or what 2 things cross here? This is the building shadow length. We know that building shadow length is 48 feet. Up top on this one, the flagpole height we also know to be 40 feet. On the bottom, we have the shadow length of the flagpole, which is 9.6 feet. And now we've set up our equation. We've got x divided by 48 equals 40 divided by 9.6. And we could solve that. We could absolutely solve it. We could do some cross multiplication, which is what you like to do. Remember, you can only do cross multiplication when you have an equal sign in the middle. What this would look like, I'll even kind of throw another different pen color on here. What I would do is I'd take and cross multiply my values in here. So what I would end up with is this here would be 9.6x equals 40 times 48. And if I was to do that right in here on the left side, that stays 9.6 times x, but on the right hand side we got 40 times 48, and when we do that we get 1,920. So we got 9.6x equals 1,920. We divide both sides by 9.6, and we get x equals, let's see, 9.6, and x equals 200. And again, if you're listening to Mrs. Hunt in your head, you're saying 200 what units? So it's feet. Feet are our units. Now, on the other side, we could have done this a little bit differently, and you might want to set it up differently. You could absolutely have maybe put objects on the side. Let's do that. Let's put objects on the side. Let's do the same problem. Put objects on the side and measurements on the top. I'll just put measure here. Let's set up our proportion, which is, again, that's 2 ratios set equal to one another. And if my objects, I'm going to put let's see, I'll put flagpole on top. Let's make it interesting. And building on bottom. And on the top, I'm going to put height here and shadow length here. And what you're going to notice, and we're going to finish this problem out to see it, but you will notice as long as you keep things in the same spots, in the same slots that you're looking for, it's going to be okay. Keep the ratios the same. So the height of the flagpole we know to be 40 feet. Again, we'll get to that when we come back to it. The height of the building we don't know. That's our x. The shadow length of the flagpole is 9.6. And the shadow length of the building is 48 feet. We could, once again, we're going to do that cross multiplication one more time here. We'd have 9.6x equals 40 times 48. And you'll notice that looks a lot like what we did right here. You'll notice that these 2 are the same. These 2 are the same. And if you changed it up even a little bit differently, let's say you wanted to do, how do we want to do this here? Let's put you know what, we've already done the 2 ways that I really want to look at. So let's just kind of leave it like that. But you'll notice that if you keep things consistent, like if you want the flagpole on top, you put the flagpole on top both times, and the building on bottom, or the heights in the same category. You just got to make sure that you're dealing with 2 things that are proportional to one another to make this work. Okay. Now this allows you to do numbers 2, 3, and 4. And here's the nice thing. You cannot do, to start out with, here's my hint to you, you cannot do 2 things that are unknown. If you got 2 unknowns, it's not going to work with. Start with something that you know. You've got the flagpole, you got both measurements on the flagpole. From that, find the oak tree height, find the goalpost height, and then find the length of the shadow for the fence. Go ahead.